Welcome to a super special episode of the Autocar Show. We're here in Stuttgart to experience every generation of the S-Class, and what a lineup it is from the very first one, the W116, which made its debut in 1972 and was the first car to actually carry the S badge. Now, ever since then, these are cars that have been known for their technological innovations and, of course, luxury and comfort. The W116 was the first car to have a turbo diesel and the first car to have ABS. And then you got the W126. Now, this was a car that was known for its innovation of the driver's side airbag and, of course, later on passenger airbags as well. After that, you got the 140, which was the first car to have ESP. And then, of course, the look of the Mercedes S-Class changed. Gone were the square headlamps and square grills, and you got this swept back look and more like the Mercedes S-Class that we know today. This was the W220. Now, this was the car that got the magic body control. And then, of course, you had the 221, which came later, and a lot of advanced driver systems like infrared vision, night view, blind spot assist, etc. The 221 between the 221, 222, these were the advancements you got. And of course, there is the 223, which can even drive up to 95 kilometers an hour on German highways on its own with its advanced ADAS system. So that's all the generations of the S-Class, and we'll be diving deeper into detail and driving each one of them. So stay tuned. And of course, remember to subscribe to the Autocar India channel. Mercedes-Benz S-Class, known as Special Class or Sonderklasse, have been the top-of-the-line models that were the pinnacle of innovation and quintessential luxury. The DNA of the S-Class began way before the 116 that was the first one to get the badge. In 1951, at that year's Frankfurt Motor Show, the German car maker introduced the svelte W187-220 and W186-300 models, available in sedan, coupe and cabrio styles. In its grander 300 guise, a 114 HP 3-litre inline-six propelled the car to a top speed of 161 km an hour, cementing the 300 as the fastest German production car at that time. Technical highlights included a safety lock to prevent the doors from bursting open and hydraulically operated torsion bar suspension to compensate the height of the rear wheels under heavy load. In 1954, the W180-220 series made its debut, nicknamed Ponton for its markedly round slab-sided design. The 220 showcased an innovative single-joint swing axle for improved safety and comfort, an automated clutch, manually controlled fuel injection, and even separate heaters for driver and passenger. 5 years later, the fin-tail Mercedes-Benz W111 and 112 arrived in 5 versions. The W111 and 112 took safety to a whole new level, boasting the world premiere of front and rear crumple zones. The first Mercedes-Benz car to feature disc brakes all around, while an injury-reducing interior brought to the forefront 3-pointed seat belts, a padded steering wheel and wedge-pin door locks. In 1963, Mercedes-Benz unveiled the colossal W100-600 limousine, available in short wheelbase and long wheelbase Pullman versions. Embellishments such as air suspension, hydraulic appointment all around, and a 250 HP 6.3-litre V8 moving the 2.5-ton plus body gave the 600 an air of supremacy, proving immensely popular with political figures and celebrities during its time. 2 years after the debut of the 600, Mercedes launched the W108 and 109 saloons to replace the previous generation fin-tail versions. The W108 was larger than its fin-tail predecessor, and the W109 featured an even more extended wheelbase of 115 mm and self-leveling air suspension. Its success as a premium flagship car convinced Daimler to add a long wheelbase to the model range, and from that point on, every future S-Class model would always have a long wheelbase variant. In 1966, the company engineer Erich Waxenberger had a brainwave to put the 6.3-litre V8 from the 600 limousine into the W109 body, creating the Mercedes-Benz 300 SEL 6.3. The result was a 2-ton sedan with enough performance to even rival the Porsche 911. The 0-100 sprint came up in a eye-popping 5.7 seconds. Even Mercedes-Benz tuning subsidiary AMG got in on the act, producing a 6.8-litre V8 425 HP version nicknamed the Rotisau or the Red Pig, which went on to finish second at the Spa 24 Hours in 1971. After years of subtly dropping the S into its luxury flagship cars, in 1972 Mercedes-Benz eventually gave in and named their W116 variant the S-Class, stamping its authority as the halo model in the German carmakers lineup. The W116 S-Class was the first production car to get ABS. It showcased the hugely advanced system in 1978. The other innovations included a turbo diesel engine, cruise control, and a collision-proof fuel tank. Okay, so into the first ever S-Class, the W116, which was the first car to really get the S-Class moniker. And I already see, a seat belt with the release that's on the side instead of the top, like we're used to. Everything manual, from the side mirrors, seats are manual, rotary dial for the backrest, and things I love, the manual controls for the aircon, but vertically laid out instead of horizontally as we are used to these days. Okay, let's get going. Just the sound of that 6.8-litre V8 starting up. Maybe we need to turn the AC a tad lower so it doesn't interfere with the mic and you can hear some things better. Handbrake is where? No, that's the... we released the handbrake. That's there. Got to find things around the car nowadays. In older days, it was still very accessible. Handbrake right there. The steering wheel is really large on this car. Still, the 6.9 litre is just so smooth and gets going just like that. This car has done 6 lakh kilometers. Yeah, it's from the 70s and it's still running like a dream. Isn't that incredible? I just feel like a part of history to be driving this old beauty. And sitting in the first car, you realize how much the automotive world has evolved, how much luxury has evolved, how much comfort has evolved, how much technology and safety has evolved. Things were simpler back then, but there were already the beginnings of the technologies we see today in these cars. For example, ABS made its debut in this car. The first turbo diesel made its debut in this car. So, yeah, I'm driving a piece of history. And I can't wipe that smile off my face because it's just such a joyous feeling to hearing that engine. The steering that feels just so much more real and connected. No artificial aids. Put your foot down and get a nice burst of acceleration. Not quite as smooth as it is nowadays, but the power is still there. 6.9 litres. That's what this engine was. 280 PS or 280 horsepower. Oh, and when you have to turn this car, the steering is a little tougher. Not quite as smooth as we have nowadays. Manual controls for everything, just so intuitive. Yeah, I know I harp about this even when I do my current reviews, but it is what it is. I love manual controls and they're just so much easier to use. You could actually raise the suspension because I see a sign here for that. Let's figure that out. So the S-Class comes with a long history of innovative technology, performance and luxury. And I was lucky enough to be able to experience the evolution firsthand. After the 116 came the W126 S-Class in 1979, featuring improved aerodynamics and sleeker lines. The W126 continued the S-Class's technical trend, including revolutions such as the world debut of driver's side airbag in 1981 and passenger side airbag in 1985. Passenger seatbelt tensioners, a body shell with forked longitudinal members to meet the offset of crash requirements, and lighter alloy wheels were all a part of this production. Driving the 126 now, and everything feels great, from the thunk of that door, the way it shuts and feels solid, to the startup of that smooth V8. This is the 5.6 litre V8. And you can already see some interesting things from our cars of today, like the seat adjusters in the shape of the seat, which were electronic, the steering adjust as well. Lovely manual controls for the AC. And this was the longest running production of an S-Class, 12 years. 890,000 units sold at that point of time. And S-Class like ride quality, really smooth. You could opt for a 5 litre version or this really powerful 5.6 litre V8. And runs like a dream. In this automatic, the gear shifts are a little perceptible. You feel it when it shifts up, so you realize the transition of how things have progressed and gotten smoother. I mean, today gear shifts are barely perceptible. Not that I need it on this beautiful sunny day. Perfect for a drive in these old beauties. Now the W126 was lighter than its predecessor, the 116. And it does feel quite agile here on these winding roads. But when you want to get this going, you really have to pump your foot down to the floor quite a bit. Getting into these cars, you really realize why the S-Class was often considered the best luxury car in the world. After the 116, the driver rotation had me sitting in the ultra-modern, new-age W223, and it was quite an eye-opener. The 223 has the distinction of also being able to drive autonomously on German autobahns up to 95 kilometers per hour. Straight from the 126, which was the second real S-Class to be made, to the 223, which is the current generation of the S-Class. So a huge transformation here, but still so many things that are similar. The little seat adjusters, just the shape of them, and probably the haptic touch has changed. Steering adjust, still very similar. But of course, I think the big massive change is now everything digital, right? Big screens. Start up in total silence because now, of course, you have electric assist. And, yep, your gear stalk is on the steering versus the manual lever for the automatic box. And I have the active seats with the bolstering, so I get a good hug from the side every time I turn the corner. But you can tell how much steering has changed, suspension has changed, just how much advancement there has been on refinement levels as well. This is like riding on glass. Steering is just so easy and light when you need it, and yet weighs up well around the corners. And of course, performance comes in just so much more a seamless manner. I need to just dab the throttle to get a good burst of acceleration. Yeah, so it's actually a good transition to jump from old into the very new to see just how much things have progressed. More connected feel of the older cars, but I have to say, these does feel just so luxurious. This current Gen 223 has an advanced level of ADAS where it drives autonomously up to about 95 kilometers an hour on the German roads. It's mapped for the German roads, so literally you have to get into the car and just tell it where you want to go and it will take you. Okay, I've set it to the speed limit and we can increase it a bit now. And I'm in autonomous mode. Car is pretty much driving itself for me. These days, you don't even have to drive your own car, but guess what? I prefer it that way. That's the joy, right? When you can get your hands on the wheel and have the inputs yourself. Drop us a comment and let us know, would you enjoy a self-drive car? I'm not one for AI taking over everything, especially my driving. That is sacrosanct to me. Yeah, a bit of assistance is always good. I mean, I think certain things are nice, especially in the distracted world we live in these days with mobile phones and things. So I think safety systems and warning systems are good, but I want to drive myself, If the car does everything for me, how boring would it be? After the 126, Mercedes-Benz unleashed the bulkier W140 S-Class in 1991 in the form of two wheelbase versions and a coupe. In addition to boasting of electronic stability program, which was a world first, adaptive damping, brake assist and self-closing boot and doors, the W140 also featured double glazing on the side windows. And it was apparent as I drove the car. Okay, so into the 140 now. Now, this is the 140. One of the best sellers was from this edition, the 500 SEL. And this one came with either the 5-liter V8, which I'm driving, or you could opt for a more powerful engine as well. And in 1995, this was the car that made the ESP debut. Okay, so a lot of things a little different in this car. The seat adjusters tucked away into a little cubby instead of right here on top, like in the earlier cars and our today cars. This was tucked away into a little cubby hole in the door. My steering adjust, as you saw, was via a button on the dashboard. And this has a host of adjuster buttons right here in the middle. It's like a little mini cockpit over here with plenty of settings, all manual. Rotary dial for the temperature. I can adjust where I want the airflow. Headrest adjust is also right here. Door lock. So central door locking and unlocking was here. Yeah, and this 5-liter V8, smooth, like all the other engines. In fact, this one is the first one where you kind of don't feel any vibration. It really is very, very smooth and refined. I think this kind of lifted refinement to a new level, whether it's ride quality or whether it is the way the engine runs. Steering has also changed and evolved. One can see a lot lighter and easier to use, more direct. The car doesn't feel quite as heavy to drive, it feels light on its feet. And the 500 SEL was one of the most powerful cars of its time and sold in numbers. It was hugely popular. I think I'd happily own a 140 even today. Easy enough to drive, lovely manual controls, and that's pretty much everything that I want. Well, I've had a blast driving these old beauties and talking about them. And then, of course, you have the 221, the 222, and you saw me drive the 223 as well. These are cars that you have seen and driven before, so I didn't put too much focus on them. But let's go a little bit into what changed on them. Fast forward to 7 years and the W220 replaced the now aging W140 with a completely new design. In 2005, the W221 S-Class was unveiled at that year's Frankfurt Motor Show. Overall proportions were larger than its predecessor. Technological bragging rights included lots of assist with infrared night view, blind spot assist, park assist, lane keep assist, and proximity control, including the automatic braking system. With Mercedes-Benz new W222 model pioneering rear seat belt airbags and tweaks to its Airmatic body control and Distronic Plus system, the S-Class continued to be a technological tour de force. Well, we hope you've enjoyed watching the evolution of the S-Class. Drop us a comment, tell us what you think, and of course, leave us a comment with which one was your favorite. And do remember to follow the Autocar India channel.